Alrighty, here we go. So, solving equations with parallel and perpendicular lines. The first thing we're going to do is have language of the discipline words for input. Elizabeth, can you come sit up here, please? Parallel lines is the first word. These are lines on the same plane that never intersect. Lines on the same plane that never intersect. So, this is an example. Please draw an example of parallel lines. They never cross each other. They never intersect. Second part to that, in input, we're going to be writing that non-vertical lines are parallel if they have and I want you to put in all caps, the same slope and different y-intercepts. Please write that down, it's very important. So any lines that are not vertical, if they're parallel, they're going to have the same slope. They can have different y-intercepts, but they're going to have the same slope. If one line's slope is 3 over 1, the other line's slope is going to be 3 over 1. They're parallel lines, they just don't have they might not have the same y-intercept, so the b might be different. I don't see everyone writing that portion down in their notes. So let me give you an example of that. I might have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. And I might also have y equals 2/3 x minus 3. So with my highlighter, I'm going to show you that the slope of this line is 2 over 3. The slope of this line is 2 over 3. Since the slopes are the same, they have different y-intercepts. Since the slopes are the same, the lines are parallel. Simple as that. So my slopes are both 2/3. So I know that they are parallel lines. Not only are both of my slopes 2/3, the y-intercepts are different. That's okay. That just means that they cross the y-axis at different numbers, but their slope is the same, so it's parallel. Make sure you have all that written down and put your pencil up when you're ready. Like everyone's ready. Okay, here we go. The next word is perpendicular lines. These are lines that intersect to form right angles. I'll tell you in a couple. Lines that intersect that form a right angle. Oops, sorry. Now the note you're going to also write is the products. What does product mean? Multiply, right? The products of their slopes is -1. It's the negative reciprocal. So when you have perpendicular lines, if you take the slope of one and you multiply it by the slope of the other, you should get -1. And you know that the lines are parallel. Perpendicular. So I'm going to give you an example. Write this example down. Y equals -1/4 x minus 1. And y equals 4x plus 2. So when you look at this, you want to identify the slope. The slope of this line is -1/4. The slope of this line is 4. Now, the definition of perpendicular lines tells me that if I multiply -1/4 and 4, I should get -1, and that will mean that it's a perpendicular line. So I'm going to take -1/4 times 4, which is the same as 4/1. If I cross cancel, 4 goes into 4 one time each. I'm going to get -1/1. -1 divided by 1 is -1. So therefore, my line is perpendicular. If you multiply the two slopes and get -1, the line is perpendicular. Okay, let's move on to modeling then. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Here's an example of one type of problem you're going to see on your homework. They're going to ask you, is the line parallel? Is the line perpendicular? Or neither? Is line parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Thank you. Okay, so here we go. Example A. Y equals 3x minus 8. The second equation that they give you is 3x minus y equals -1. So they give you two equations. So they want us to find out, is the line parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, I can't compare these lines unless they're in the same formula. So this one's in slope-intercept form. I need to make this one in slope-intercept form as well. You need both lines to be in slope-intercept form to tell whether it's going to be perpendicular or not. So this one, do I have to do anything? No. So let's do this one. I need to put it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. That's the form I need. Y equals mx plus b. Okay. Well, to get y by itself, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Positive 3x and negative 3x cancel each other out. So I'm left with -y equals -3x minus 1. Well, I can't leave y as a negative y, so I have to divide by -1 on both sides to get rid of that negative sign. So now I'm left with y equals -3 divided by a -1 is a positive 3x. -1 divided by -1 is a positive 1. So that's going to be the part of the most, I guess, the hardest part of the problem. It's just converting it. But then from there, it's easy. All I have to do now is identify the slopes. Okay? So now I have 3x minus 8 and 3x plus 1. Are my slopes the same?
Yes.
Yes. So if my slopes are the same, is it parallel, perpendicular, or neither?
Parallel.
Parallel. So your answer is parallel because the slopes are the same with a different y-intercept. Parallel because the slopes are the same with a different y-intercept. Now remember, the part of this that's Common Core is explaining why we know that. So again, when you look, just make sure you identify the slope here is 3 and the slope here is 3. So if they are the same, it's parallel. Easy enough, right?
Yes.
I think so. Thank you, Elizabeth. Alright, let's try letter B. Letter B. They give me 3x plus 2y equals negative 5. And then they give me y equals 2/3 x plus 6. Well, the second equation's already in slope-intercept form, so do I need to do anything to it? No. So that means I just got to deal with this guy over here and turn that into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So we're basically trying to get y by itself. To do that, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. My 3x and my negative 3x cancel. I'm left with 2y equals negative 3x minus 5. Keep that negative sign attached. Make sure everyone's writing every step with me. Last thing I need to do is divide by 2 to get y by itself. My 2's cancel. I'm left with y equals negative 3 divided by 2x minus 5 over 2. Alright, well, now that I have it in slope-intercept form, let me look to see. The slope of this line over here is negative 3 over 2. The slope of this line is a positive 2/3. So if it's its opposite inverse, which it looks like it is it parallel, perpendicular, or neither? I know that it's perpendicular because the slopes are opposite inverses. Perpendicular because the slopes are opposite inverses. One's negative, one's positive, one's 3 over 2, one's 2 over 3. Okay, here we go, example 2. Your directions are going to say to write an equation. Go ahead and write it with me. Write an equation for the line that is parallel to the given line and passes through the given point. Let's see. Write an equation for the line that is parallel to the line and passes through the given point. Now for me, I need to know what I'm looking for, and so in these directions, they want me to talk about parallel lines. So I know that if it's parallel, that means that its slopes are going to be the same. So they give me y equals 3 over 5x minus 4, and they give me the point 5, comma 1. Please write that down. Now the first thing you need to do, step number 1, the first thing you need to do is identify the slope. So I'm going to put over here step 1. Identify slope. Identify the slope. So when I look at that equation, what's my slope? 3 over 5. So I know that my slope, m, equals 3 over 5. So that means that when I plug in this point to point slope form, the slope that I end up with needs to match 3 over 5. Okay? So step number 2, write down step 2. Okay? You're going to place the point into point slope form. Which means I'm going to take that 5, comma 1, and I'm going to plug it into point slope form. Well, I know that I remember from the beginning of the chapter when we learned point slope form, it was y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So I'm going to write that first. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. But what am I going to do? I'm going to substitute these numbers into this equation. So what's my y? Y minus, my y is 1 equals m. What's the m? We already identified the slope. M is 3 over 5. 3 over 5 times the quantity x minus x1 is 5. Keep writing. So I plugged in 1 for my y. I plugged in 3/5 for my slope, which was what we found first. And I plugged in 5 for my x. Okay, so now we need to solve. Y minus 1 equals 3 over 5 times x is 3 over 5x minus 3 over 5 times 5, which is going to be 3. I'm almost done. Okay, I need to just add 1 to both sides to get y by itself. Add 1, add 1. Y equals 3 over 5x. Now these over here are like terms. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And that's it. They just wanted me to write the equation, which is this equation here, that matches this equation's slope. So step 3, all we had to do was solve. So you find the slope first, put it in point slope form, and then that's your answer. Because all the directions said what to do were to write an equation for a line that is parallel. So if my equation at the end of my point slope form matches the slope of the first formula, I'm good to go. That's all you have to do. Put those points in point slope form. Make sure they match. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's go with letter B. Y equals 3x plus 9, and thy point is 2 comma negative 6. Put how many fingers in the air are the slope. What's the slope? Good, I see it from almost everybody. What's the slope?
3.
Fingers in the air. 3. Slope is 3. So what should your slope be at the end? Put your fingers in the air. It's a parallel line. What should your slope be at the end? Good. 3 as well. Good. So now we need to first identify the slope, which we did. You guys told me that m is 3. We found the slope. So now we need to plug it, step 2, which we wrote down, place point into point slope form. We wrote that down. So now I'm going to write point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Write it down. So now I have to substitute the points and the slope into this equation, right? So I have y minus y1 is negative 6 equals m, which is 3, times the quantity of x minus x1 is 2. Nod your head yes if you're seeing where I'm getting the numbers from and plugging them in. Make sense? Okay. Good. So y minus negative 6 is y plus 6 equals 3 times x minus 2. Okay, so now I need to distribute that 3 that's outside of the quantity. Y plus 6 equals 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Almost there. I have to subtract 6 from both sides to get y by itself. Positive 6, negative 6 cancel. Y equals 3x minus 12. Done. Do my slopes match?
Yes.
3 and 3? Yes, they do. So then I'm good. Parallel line. Okay, let's take the last example, example 3. And you could probably almost guess what you're going to do for example 3. It's going to be the same directions. I'm going to shorten it. Write an equation for the line that is, perpendicular. And I'm going to put a dot, 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 because the rest of the directions are the same. Go ahead and write that, please. You can do it. Last set of notes for this chapter. Come on. Okay, so you're doing the exact same thing, except once you find the slope, you gotta find the perpendicular slope to plug in. Okay, so here we go. Letter A. Y equals 5x plus 3, and the point they give us is 0, comma negative 2. Now, I don't want the slope for a perpendicular line. I can't do the same slope. I want a slope for a parallel line. I want the slope for a perpendicular line, which means it's opposite inverse. So, if my slope is 5 for a perpendicular line, what's its opposite? What's opposite of positive?
Negative.
Negative. What's the reciprocal of 5? Flip it. 5 over 1 is flipped? 1/5. 1 over 5. So this is my slope. Because I want the slope for a perpendicular line. Then it's the exact same steps. The slope just flipped. It's the exact same steps. So I'm going to write point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. I don't know how many times I say that in a day. Write it down, please. Now I'm going to plug in my points, and I'm going to plug in my slope. So I have y minus, what's y in the equation? Negative 2 equals, my new slope of a perpendicular line is the opposite inverse, so negative 1 over 5 times the quantity x minus, and that's 0. So y minus negative 2 is y plus 2 equals, now I'm going to distribute. Negative 1/5 times x, negative 1/5 x. Negative 1/5 times 0 is 0, so I don't have to write anything. Negative 1/5 times 0 is 0. So you don't have to write anything. Almost done. I need to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Positive 2 and negative 2 cancel. And left with y equals negative 1/5 x minus 2. That's my answer. And how do I know my answer is correct? Because the slope of the line they gave me is 5. The slope that I ended up with was negative 1/5. It's opposite inverse. So I'm good. It's a perpendicular line. Simple, simple. Guys ready for the last one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Last one. And we're going to do check for understanding. Letter B. Y equals 3x minus 2. They give me the points 6, 4. Now the directions are the same. I want a perpendicular line. So what's the first thing I need to do? Find the slope. Thank you, Elizabeth. Then what do I need to do if it's going to be a perpendicular line? Switch it to its opposite inverse. Very good. So can everybody tell me what the slope of this line is? 3. M equals 3 on this line. But now I want to change it to its opposite inverse. Well, 3 is positive, so what's the opposite of positive? Negative. What's the reciprocal of 3? 1/3. Beautiful. So now all we have to do is plug that into point slope form. And I'm going to say it again. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. Okay? Plug them in. Plug in your points. Plug in your slope. Okay? So I have y minus y1 is 4 equals m negative 1/3, because that's the new perpendicular slope, times the quantity of x minus the x that they give us, 6. Okay? So now I'm going to distribute y minus 4 equals 1/3, negative 1/3 times x is negative 1/3 x. Okay? Then I have negative 1/3 minus 6. Okay? So that's going to end up being 2 negatives are end up going to being a positive. Okay? So that's like saying 1/3 times 6 over 1. I know that 3 can go into 3 once. 3 can go into 6 twice. So I get 2 over 1, so my answer is 2. I do negative 1/3 times negative 6. Negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, I'm almost done. Add 4 to both sides to get y by itself. Isolate the variable. Negative 4 plus 4. Cancel each other out. Left with y equals negative 1/3 x. 2 plus 4 is 6. Go ahead, Alex. Thank you.